So obviously, it started out in LA when you have ICE going out and announcing that they're going to have a raid, and people have their right to go out and peacefully protest and stand in front of the federal building and yell and scream all they want. But that's not exactly what happened.
No.
Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you. And we have adapted our tactics to be able to have a chance to be able to take these people into custody and to be able to hold them accountable. We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers, to throw at cars, and throw at other people. We've seen people with hammers, and you've broadcasted breaking the bollards behind the federal building and taking the rocks, if you will, or pieces of concrete, and throwing them at officers. We've had liquid of who knows what description thrown at officers. There's no limit to what they're doing to our officers, and
he admits it, right? I mean, he admits that he's overwhelmed. I mean, I think in subsequent interviews with Bass and him, he kind of says, "No, we're not." You know, we he's called in mutual aid and a few other things, but at that one, he completely he's honest about it. At least, right. You know, I give him the honesty. I think he changes his tune a little later on, but I give him credit for his honesty in that particular interview.
Right, he changed when he's standing there with Bass, who changes her tune from "Oh, it was a lovely Saturday afternoon" to "We now have a curfew in Los Angeles."
Right,
an 8 o'clock curfew where you're not allowed to be on the streets or you're going to be locked up because you waited too long to engage. And you waited too long. But like he said, the federal government has the right to be out there, right? But what do the federal legislators have to say about that? I believe Maxine Waters was out and about, right? Wasn't she out and about and she was trying to get into the building to see somebody? Well, let's see what she has to say.
And even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know. And I went from downtown detention back out into the community, talking to people what happened in Paramount, what happened in Compton, what happened in Inglewood. So, first of all, get it straight and don't just rely on what you're being told or the few incidents that you saw.
The few incidents that you saw that led to a curfew from Mayor Bass, who doesn't want to do anything, right? No. But she, you know, what do you think about that little side by side?
Yeah,
that was a great piece.
Yeah, it was since nobody got shot or killed, then it's peaceful. Okay, you tell me a store owner, right, that got totally his store got totally ripped off and everything stolen out of it. I mean, I saw a video where a guy was trying to hold a door and they were literally ripped it out of him and got inside. So his whole livelihood is destroyed. But that's okay because he didn't get shot or killed. I mean, clearly it's crazy. I mean, you talk about, you know, it's just when you talk about California and just riot in general, it says, you know, to prove the defendant is guilty of this offense, the prosecutor must be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the defendant willfully participated in a riot. So, I mean, you can easily see that 2 or more people acting together without any legal authority disturbs the public peace by using force or violence or threatening the use of force or violence. And they have the immediate ability to carry out these threats. So I don't think she knows the law, right? She's just saying because it's not this and that, it's nothing. No, it's a riot. It is a riot. And I think we should get into, the deployment of the National Guard. Did that really made it a riot? I mean, I don't think so. I don't think so. Right? Where was the National Guard deployed? Right? Did they take the streets?
No.
No.
And let's let's be clear. I mean, we have a graphic we're going to pull up, but before that, let's hear from our defense secretary, right, Pete Hegseth, and he was at a hearing and he was he was asked, why wasn't who under whose authority was the National Guard called into Los Angeles?
Mr. Secretary, what's the justification for using the military for civilian law enforcement purposes in LA? Why are you sending war fighters to cities to interact with civilians?
Every American citizen deserves to live in a community that's safe, and ICE agents need to be able to do their job. They're being attacked for doing their job, which is deporting illegal criminals. That should happen in any city, Minneapolis or Los Angeles. And if they're attacked, that's lawless, and President Trump believes in law and order. So he has every authority, and he has done mobilizing National Guard or active duty troops under U.S. code to protect federal agents in their job, which is exactly what we're doing, and we're proud to do it. We're proud to do it.
10 U.S.C. of the U.S. Code 12406 as a legal basis that the president used, cites 3 examples and circumstances for the Guard: invasion by a foreign nation, a rebellion or dangerous rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. Which authority is triggered here to justify the use?
I don't know. You just read it yourself, and people can listen themselves, but it sounds like all 3 to me. If you've got millions of illegals and you don't know where they're coming from, they're waving flags from foreign countries and assaulting police officers and law enforcement officers. That's a problem.
The laws of the United States.
No, the governor of California is unable to execute the laws of the United States.
The president, you said all
the governor of the California has failed to protect his people, along with the mayor of Los Angeles, and so President Trump has said he will protect our agents, and our Guard and Marines are proud to do it.
The law also says, Mr. Secretary, that the orders for these purposes shall be issued through governors of the states.
Right. He goes on to say, you and I both know where he had the proper authority to do so. And I saw a really good post by a friend of ours, Anthony Raganella, who put up on his LinkedIn an explanation of when the authority and where the authority comes from and what they're supposed to do, right? So the National Guard and military use for domestic law enforcement. Now, first, that senator was wrong, because as of right now, the Marines and the National Guard that were called up under federal authority are not being used for law enforcement purposes. They're being used only right now to protect federal facilities and federal agents, right? So who controls it, right? It's the state-controlled National Guard. So it's the governor of the state, right? But to federalize the National Guard, the president can do it under Title 10 USC, right? Can keep that up. And, the federal military under the Insurrection Act, which the president has not invoked the Insurrection Act as of yet. I feel that he probably will, because this is spreading throughout different cities and states now, right? We're seeing it in Chicago, we're seeing it in Texas, we're seeing it in Philadelphia, we're seeing it here in New York now, not just Los Angeles, right? But under the Posse Comitatus Act, right? Does it apply under state control? No. But under the federal government, yes, right? But again, without the Insurrection Act being invoked, it doesn't, right? So it does not permit law enforcement roles. Again, if the state calls it out, they can. They can arrest and they can enforce curfews and crowd control. Right now, there's a curfew in Los Angeles. The military will not be used to enforce those curfews, because it's just a federalized National Guard right now under Title 10, right? If he invokes the Insurrection Act, then they get police powers. They can arrest, control crowds, and enforce the laws, right? So right now, they're just using it to repel invasions, suppress rebellion, or enforce federal laws. And under the enforced federal laws is where they are using this. So you don't need state consent. So the federal government, the President of the United States has the authority and has sent in the National Guard and mobilized active duty Marines. All they are doing right now is protecting the federal buildings and the federal ICE agents. They are not involved in, you don't see them anywhere doing any kind of crowd control or anything like that. So that's where the authority comes from, the federal government superseding the state governor.
Yeah, no, they maintained the line, right? They made the line in front along the curb, and they maintained that line for the safety of the people inside the building that work in the building, and for any federal agents that are, are also in that building. So, I mean, clearly that's within the purview of the president. When you think about the George Floyd riots or in Minneapolis, when they took over the police precinct, right? That could have easily happened here. Okay.
Absolutely.
So you have a volatile crowd, and they could easily went in and taken over everything. And that, first of all, I don't think that policing got destroyed. But you don't want that to happen to a federal building. And the president has full jurisdiction over a federal building, and he can deploy the appropriate means. And he activated them appropriately. He put the Marines there. And that's fine too, but as long as they stay within their boundary, there really is no objection. I wouldn't have no objection to it. If they came to New York City, which we know our illustrious commissioner has a different point of view, but
we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yep.
But if they came, listen, and if our governor authorized them, I would work hand in hand with them, right? We have in the past, all right? How many times they've been on the bridges together? They've been put in subways in certain situations. So, I mean, they're a huge asset. What really surprises me, and well, it doesn't surprise me, is why didn't the mayor or the mayor request to the governor Newsom to activate them? Because it doesn't hurt to activate them and get them there. It doesn't mean you have to use them, right? But they're a force multiplier, and they're there for your disposal.
You've just watched a clip from our live episode. Click the description to watch the full episode. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this.